So Cork have beaten Laois by 212 to 10 points at O'Moore Park. I'm delighted to be joined here today by Matthew Hurley from the GAA Statsman Podcast here for this match reaction. In the end, I suppose a good win for Cork. You bounced back from that Kildare defeat, obviously last weekend. What was your thoughts on the game?
It was a bit of a weird game, Aaron. Thanks for having me on again. I just thought it was a boring enough game. I thought the highlight was when we lost the pictures on GAA Go, to be honest. But
I noticed that, yeah.
But in fairness, look, the lads dug in. They got the win. Look, it was job done. You know, I'm not going to show from the rooftops in this performance like I did, suppose, on your channel with the Kerry game last year. Look, I think Laois are a poor side. They showed it last week against Clare. And they were poor enough now today. They missed a few opportunities. In fairness, we only had 2 wides today, so one towards the end, but it didn't matter. Mark Collins, and it didn't really matter. So I suppose that aspect, you have to take positives from it. And also, Clare played very well last week against Laois, for those who watched the game. And we didn't play so well. And yes, it was the same margin of victory, 8 points. So you have to take positives out of that. That'd be the main positive I'd take out tonight's game, yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose like obviously you had that early goal from Sean White, I suppose, in the early kind of stages of the game. Like it looked like from what, like as I said to you off air, like I had the game on in the background. I was kind of mainly watching the Armagh Tyrone game, but it looked like from there on you were probably going to breeze through Laois. Like you kind of had a couple of other chances as well, kick the point. But I suppose in the end, like you have to admire Laois. Like I suppose they, although it wasn't their best performance, they certainly did go down fighting.
Yeah, I thought they were much better than last week. If I'm honest, they fought more for the ball. They scored more from play and they didn't rely as much as Donny Kingston as last week, for example. They scored, I think, 2 points from play up until the 68th minute last week. That was drastically improved today, and you have to applaud them for it. But as I've said already, they're a poor side, and I think they'll probably be in Division 3 next year. I wish them best of luck in the Leinster Championship. They're playing Westmeath. I think John Kenny mentioned that in commentary. Seeing Westmeath today, I think they'll honestly batter Laois. Look at the Laois 2 games to date. But look, it was decent from Laois. They gave us a test, but I don't think we played to our full potential today. I think we were poor against Kildare last week. We were poor again today. And another positive I will take is maybe there's a spark next week against Clare. I hope there is. Because the first 2 games, I don't think we played to our full potential. We were a bit sloppy today. The kickouts were poor today. I think one ended up on the sideline, and the same one, didn't go beyond the 30-metre line. Like, they're basic errors, and you shouldn't be making those. Thankfully, it was Laois, but next week we will not get away with it against the Clare side with Owen Cleary and Joseph McGann, etc. on form. So, look, it was a wake-up call today. It was a wake-up call last week against Kildare when they rattled off 1-2 inside 3 minutes or something, and we were out of the game then. But look, it wasn't our best performance. It wasn't our best performance last week, and I just hope we'll drastically improve next week because we'll need to, because Clare are a decent side.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously you had Kieran Sheehan and the likes of Luke Connolly, I suppose, coming back into the team. Like I suppose in an overall picture, I mean, imagine that's a positive, I suppose, because you do look a different team with him on the pitch. I know he only scored a point in the game, but I suppose like when you think back to that Tipperary loss last year, like I think one of the probably main reasons why he lost that game was because he went off, and he's probably one of Cork's top forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke is an unbelievable player for us. He has been over the last few years. I suppose he wasn't on it completely on tonight. He did score a point, as you say, but I suppose he's just recovering from fitness, the same as Mark Collins. You see him a bit rusty coming on as well. A big positive was Kieran Sheehan, I thought. I thought he won a lot of ball around the forward line. He was one positive to take out of our forwards. In fairness, the other forward, John O'Rourke, played well as well, scored 2 points. Did all you could ask from him. Rory Dean scored a goal. Sean White scored a goal. Kevin O'Driscoll walked around. So all the 6 forwards actually played their part today. I didn't think they were at their very, very best now today, but hopefully they will against Clare. But I thought Kieran Sheehan coming back is brilliant, given, he's the only All-Ireland winner left in our team. He adds that experience. He adds that strength from his time over in AFL. And yeah, he'd be kind of like a Mark Keane player for us, hopefully. Hopefully we won't miss Mark Keane that much, this year, and hopefully, he'll come up with a similar moment against Kerry this year. Yeah, that's if we played him, of course.
Yeah, that would be interesting. All right. Yeah, I suppose, having him back in the team definitely makes a massive difference, I think, to that Cork team. Like, and would he have been your man of the match then, or would there have been anyone else who probably would have stood out on the day?
I know we didn't play to our full potential today, but there was a good few nominees. As I say, Kieran Sheehan was definitely up there, scored 2 points. He was a colossal in that forward line for us, and made the Laois defenders have a hard time all day. Ian Maguire gave his all, as every game really. He's a superb player and gives it his all for the team. But I thought Daniel O'Mahony was brilliant. I think he struggled a bit against Kildare, against Darragh Kieran last week, but against Donny Kingston, I don't think Kingston scored from play. He might have scored one or something, but he was totally out of the game, and that's testament to how well Daniel O'Mahony played. And it's only his second senior game. He hasn't played a championship game as of yet. He was under 20 last year. He was very impressive against Kerry in the Munster under 20 final. And he was impressive on Donny Kingston today. He got a bit of a lesson off Kieran last week, but then again, Kieran is an unbelievable forward for Kildare. But he stood up today when it counted. I suppose Sean Powter played well as well. Sean Meehan, Matty Taylor did well enough. But for man of the match overall, I'd probably go Daniel O'Mahony, because he marshalled Donny Kingston, who is Laois's star player, very well today. And Donny didn't have the threat he'd usually have. Like, he had a bit of it against Clare last week. He had none of it really today. And that's testament, as I say, to how well Daniel O'Mahony played today.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously Clare next weekend, like obviously the Clare Kildare game hasn't happened yet, so we're not too sure how it's going to be fixed going into that match just yet. But I suppose, like, if we imagine maybe that Kildare beat Clare tomorrow, then I suppose that would leave almost like a league quarter final or a league semi final in many ways, I suppose, going into that game. I mean, it would be a massive game, and like what you alluded to on my podcast before, you were saying like your record against Clare probably isn't the best, so I suppose that will be a huge test for yourselves to get into that promotion playoff.
Will be a massive test. And I said it on the podcast already, our record, like, against Clare, I think the last 3 attempts we faced them in the league in both Parky Arena and Cusack Park especially have been horrendous. We got hammered there in 2019. And looking at Clare last week, I thought Owen Cleary, if he's on that form against us and we're on the form maybe tonight and against Kildare underperforming, he will destroy us. There's no doubt about that. I think about tomorrow's game, I think Clare could do it, but given, I know David Tubridy starting, I suppose he's an experienced figure in that team, but I would have rather seen someone like Joe McGann in the team, to run at that Kildare defence. They weren't really tested against Cork last week, and that's where Clare could flourish. They flourished last week against Laois, up against the likes of Mark Timmins, who's 35 for Laois. But Clare is going to be an incredibly tough game. If they bring their A game, if they bring, brilliant performances like Laois last week, Darren O'Neill in the middle of the park, Daniel Walsh was amazing at wing back last week, Joe McGann, as I said, David Tubridy, if he has experience maybe coming off the bench next week, and Owen Cleary, Keelan Sexton, if they're on form and we're not, we're going to have a hard time. And hopefully Ronan will work on a few things like kickouts, like aggression tonight. Like you've seen tonight as well, Niall Corbett, the Laois goalkeeper, went beyond the 45 or the 65, and there was not a hand laid in him. That has to be fixed next week. We can't allow someone like a Daniel Walsh or a Cathal O'Connor just to keep running our defence without a hand laid on them, because it'll be huge danger for our full back line, maybe even resulting in a few goals that day. So I hope Ronan works on things in the training ground during the week. Well, I suppose the proof will be in the pudding next week, but it will be a very tough game. But I suppose it will start tomorrow with Kildare Clare. That'll be a titanic clash tomorrow.
Yeah, I suppose maybe Noel Corbett seen Rory Pagan earlier, and he was kind of maybe taking after him a bit. But yeah, cheers anyway, Matthew, for coming on. Definitely be an interesting game tomorrow between Clare and Kildare, and I suppose it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out across Division 2, I suppose, now in the next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the toughest division for a reason. And thanks for having me on, Aaron, once again on your podcast.